Welcome to Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Bobby Pominville. I'm your reporter on the arts, the music, and I like to also go into the language arts. And today I have invited an author I know, Nancy Toll, to the show. Welcome to the show, Nancy.
Thank you, Bobby.
I've known her for quite a few years. We worked in the same district. And all I know is that she knows a lot more about technology than I do. And I think there might have been times when you actually saved me a little bit on that. But anyway, as a music teacher, I didn't have to know a whole lot, you know.
Oh,
I mean, a little bit.
You can add those little touches.
But I do like computers most of the time.
Yeah.
And I do want to tell people that you grew up in Iowa, you were a teacher there. You were a science teacher for several years.
Yes, I taught science in northern Iowa for 6 years. In fact, I was the only science teacher in the building because it was a very small rural school. It was great because I'd have the kids year after year, and we'd go on field trips, and the principal would drive the bus and fish while we were going.
Because I'm from a small town in North Dakota, so I'm really identifying with this.
Yes, yeah.
And like I was the only music teacher in the building.
Yeah.
Usually wherever I was in Hudson, even though I had different schools to go to. And then after you got your master's degree, UW, River Falls, I believe.
Yep.
Then you also got a specialist degree in educational technology.
Right. I had been teaching science in Hudson, and was approached about a position to help teachers with computers and software. And it was very intriguing, and so I pursued it and
I know
up in
you're
the technology world.
Very highly of. For many people, I've heard that. And I think this is interesting. You seem to be so active, and you enjoy playing golf, the piano. That I love.
Yes.
Swimming.
Love to swim.
This I agree with very much. Your most cherished times are with your family. So this is really a great synopsis and a great bio of you. And so along the journey of your life, you hit a bump in the road, and you call your book Getting Over the Bump in the Road, Helpful Hints for Cancer Patients and Caregivers. Well, I've been a caregiver, so I take great interest in what you wrote. I found this book very, very good reading. So tell us about your experience with cancer and your inspiration to writing this book. I believe it's your first book.
It is my first book. I don't know if it'll be my only. Jury's still out there, but it's been fun. I went in thinking that I had something wrong with my colon. I hadn't had a colonoscopy for years and thought maybe I had something wrong there. So went in for a colonoscopy, and on the side with my doctor, I said, I think I may feel a lump in my breast too. And he goes, well, let's check it out. And he would, all my doctors have been great. They were just super. But he said, it feels fibrous, but let's check it out. And he got me over for a mammogram right then and there. And they thought they saw something, so they got me in for an ultrasound on it and did that and found something that they thought should be biopsied. So got me in that afternoon for the biopsy, and
I can't believe the same day.
I know.
Do they really do that?
It might have been that I was kind of crying in my doctor's. I came out to make the appointment, and he saw me standing out there. I think I probably had a few tears, and he goes, "Oh, it's gonna be okay. You don't know anything yet," and gave me a big hug, and so I think he had some pull there, but
I don't think everything happens that way, Nancy.
It doesn't.
You're very lucky.
Yes, yeah, and because I'm a terrible person at waiting. I want to know what's going on. I'd rather know than not know, and so that's kind of a theme through the book too.
Yes.
I think when the doctors kind of felt that in me, they were able to accommodate my
I just was shocked to hear that, because I thought people were always sent home and, make an appointment and whatever. I kind of assumed that.
Yeah.
But that is wonderful, and I love that you found you had a good doctor, I should say.
Yes,
But
yes.
along the way, we'll get into that a little bit.
Okay.
Because
yes.
doctors can also be a little bit troublesome.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And you mentioned that in one of your parts of the book.
Yeah.
So anyway, when you were going through all this, were you already journaling then?
No, I don't
Not
think
really.
I didn't really start that until the chemo. I think that
Oh, yes.
chemotherapy, that's probably I was most scared of chemotherapy, going through that just from stories you hear and
I would be terrified.
so I think it helped me just start journaling then what was going on. And
I think that's so good to hear that,
that,
because that didn't happen with my mother.
yeah.
It was really kind of left, I don't know, in the background, and she didn't want to talk about it.
No, yes, yeah.
And I think that made it really difficult.
Yeah.
Because with the two daughters, my sister being a nurse and I had to take her to chemo sometimes with my father and be with her. And so I'm just identifying with that
Yeah.
a lot, what you went through.
And I think when I was going through it, I really did say very little to anybody at work or any of my friends. It was just my family that I was letting in, my sister and my immediate family.
I agree with that totally.
And I don't know why I did that, because I think retrospect, I wish people had known what I was going through. And that's kind of why I wanted to write the book, is to let people know what they can do when they don't know what to do to help.
I think that's exactly the way I would react, especially being a teacher and having so many friends and so many colleagues. I think I would just hide it.
Yeah.
But I think in the long run, it is best to have that support and to have people behind you. And you know who your true friends are.
Yes, yeah.
So what you did, that even resonated with me.
That's good.
So that was excellent. All right, now you've got, well, there's a couple things. You've got these different chapters, if I could call them chapters, and you're going through these different things. And I want also, while we're talking about this, would you kind of highlight what you think is really important to the reader? Because I think you really wrote this for the reader.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I tried to make it very conversational, like I would be talking to someone, and I tried not to hold back. So there might be some places that might seem, oh, she probably shouldn't have said that, but I wanted to be upfront with people that this is what could happen. And
some of it's just a little bit shocking if you don't know anything about cancer.
yes.
And I think I probably looked at it like, well, that's true. She's really got a good account going here. So you go from the beginning to your surgery, and if people are experiencing anything like that, this is a great help.
Yes, I hope so. That's my
Really?
goal. It is.
Because you found the surgery quite painful.
The biopsy.
Yes.
The biopsy, yes. The biopsy, actually, I had more problems with than the surgery itself, which is...
Well, I should have referred to that
different, yes,
first, but I think it's a little scary, but I didn't know it would be so painful.
Yeah, that shocked me too, because I didn't know at that time what to expect, and
Right.
that was kind of an abrupt procedure with not much follow-up, and that one took forever to get my results back, because my first results were unclear, so they sent it to another lab, and then I was working with two different labs, Mayo and one down by Chicago, and
Really?
trying to convince them that it's okay to share the results back and forth. I know with HIPAA laws and everybody's so worried about confidentiality.
Oh, I
and
know
that.
it. I know it. You always have to sign that little piece,
Oh, yes,
you know.
yeah.
No matter what I'm doing or whatever happens. But then you went to the chemotherapy, and what was that like for you?
Chemo actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be very sick. The nausea was probably, I was worried
Yes.
the most about that.
That's what I hear
And
about.
they had some great drugs that they gave me on this. And they started with Benadryl, which just would relax you. And that was amazing because they said they don't always do that. And then my last session I went to, she wasn't going to give me the Benadryl. I said, no, yeah, I want that. But, and then they give you steroids, you know, to try and reduce any complications that come around. And
So how long does that take to go through the chemo?
I had 4 sessions, 3 weeks apart, and then each one lasted 3 to 4 hours.
Oh yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's common because I know some people, I had 2 different drugs that they were giving me, and so they did it at the same time, where I know some people get the first one for like 3 weeks and then the second one for 3 weeks, and they split them up, so. Yeah.
Now, isn't it possible that sometimes they redo the chemo or something?
Yeah, they can redo chemo if it's needed. Sometimes too, you get there and if your blood levels aren't right, they'll always do a blood test first to make sure that you're healthy enough to withstand the chemo, that you can fight it off from your good cells. And but I was really lucky there. I think my family made sure I drank tons of water because my sister wouldn't let me go anywhere without a glass of water, and they told me how important it was. But if I hadn't done that, I think it would have been worse. She made me eat, even though I didn't want to eat. She made me eat, and that's important. It really is important.
Yeah, you had some really good suggestions in the book on that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
My sister came up to cook, and the smell of food cooking in the house did not go over very well. So I ended up I'd go back to the bedroom and sleep a little bit while she was cooking, and then so meals that don't take a lot of prep are good for people going through chemo, so they don't have to smell the cooking piece.
And aren't you lucky you have 3 sisters?
Yes.
And one happened to be a hospice nurse.
Yes, yeah, one works at hospice.
She was a pro then.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's
she had a lot of helpful
very
hands.
helpful.
That.
And the support of those sisters.
Yeah, oh yes.
And I don't want to negate the support of your family, like your husband and that too.
Yes. Yeah.
But I mean, I know how I depend on my sister, so that would be very important.
It was my sister Susan. I knew she would come up and not get too emotional about things. She'd just take care of things. You know, she'd do my laundry and do my dishes, and then that allowed my husband and my kids to be there emotionally, you know, for that support. So that was wonderful. Yeah.
And the way you wrote about being beautifully bald, I just give you so much credit for that.
I was worried about losing my hair. I really was until it happened. And when it happened, I think it was like the least of my worries. It was, but again, the hairdresser I went to in town, she said, you could come up at night when nobody's here and I'll do it. Your family can come with you if you want. And I ended up, my daughter-in-law shaved me off. So, and then.
Yes, you even had that personal touch.
Yeah.
So how nice for that.
Yeah, it was scary when I allowed my husband to take the safety, because she took the clippers, which left like a quarter inch there, and your hair would catch on things, and so I
never thought that would happen.
Oh,
I had no idea.
Yeah. So I let my husband take the safety razor to my head. That was scary, but he did
I don't
a
think
great
I'd be
job.
that brave.
My
guy, I don't think so. So that was great. So everybody was stepping up to help you. You had such a wonderful experience with your family supporting you.
And that's what, I want also people to know that not everybody does have family. I went at Regents, we had to go to chemo class. They made you go to a chemotherapy class before you had chemo, which was great. It was like an all-day class, but there were 2 other people there, and one of them, they'd ask us, would you have somebody come with you for your chemo sessions? And, he had a sister on the West Coast, really didn't have anybody. And, I want people to realize that just volunteering to help people
Oh.
with rides or,
So
back and forth or
important.
sitting with them during a
And
chemo
really, you go into that on this chapter called caregiving, and how much it meant to have the people there, your family, your friends, all of that supporting you, and how important it is for you, and even I know for myself, to be a caregiver
Yeah.
for people, even if you don't know them.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, you might see somebody on the street or, and I've seen people at the grocery store that need help.
Yeah.
I saw them helping an older man across the street with his groceries just the other day. And I thought that was so cool. They stopped the car, the young man and his mother got out. But this is really a lot of caregiving. So now when you're in the hospital and you've got some nurses that are, I'm sure, just tops.
Oh, yes.
The best.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then occasionally you get a doctor that doesn't communicate that well.
One, my oncologist originally was from India. And
yeah.
so I think there was a cultural difference there to begin with when my husband and I went in, because he definitely talked to my husband. He wasn't talking to me.
That's interesting.
He put his hand on my knee, it's going to be okay, that, but didn't really talk to me about things. And I think that got much better after he knew me and didn't quit coming to the appointments with me, that type of thing. So,
But it's often you run into someone like that.
yeah.
When you're in a hospital, and sometimes they're hard to understand even.
And you have to advocate for yourself. I had a good friend who told me that up front. You have to
Yes.
say what you want, and don't settle. If you're not satisfied, don't settle. And that I did that in my radiation. I asked for research that showed that this extra boost with radiation they wanted to do at the end would make a difference. And he really couldn't. She gave me a piece of research, but I read it, and it really didn't make, there wasn't any statistical difference that it made a difference in surviving.
So at that point, you
So
made your own
I
choice.
did.
And you advocated for yourself, and you said, I don't need this.
Right.
I've decided not to do it.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people have the courage to do that.
I wouldn't have known that if my friend hadn't shared, with me. She really, I learned just so much going through the experience, and I think that's what I wanted to share too.
Yeah.
Because.
Well, and I want to refer to one other thing you wrote about, the fact that you had, I think when you had the surgery or whenever it was, you came out and the doctor was gone.
Yeah.
And he talked to your husband,
Yeah.
but he didn't talk to you. So then that would leave me with a lot of loose ends.
He was off and running. However, he was my favorite doctor.
Oh, good.
He was
So that all
wonderful.
worked out for the best.
Yes, yeah. And I understood, he was in another surgery by the time I was awake enough
imagine
to,
he was-
to
Yeah,
come
I
in.
know.
And they, it was an outpatient surgery, so I didn't have to stay.
Oh, true.
home
So he was
nights,
on to his next
he was
patient.
on to his next
But thank
patient,
goodness
but-
that was a really quality doctor.
Oh,
then.
and he's the one I mentioned in there. I got him an
Yes.
edible bouquet.
And how excited he was.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
I guess he showed it to everybody.
Yes, yeah, he did. He
That
walked
was a
around
great
dreaming about it
thing
because
that you did that.
he had the research for me. He explained everything thoroughly. He just took the time with me, and
That's what you want.
It was a wonderful experience there.
So
yeah.
very good, because I would say my husband probably couldn't remember half of what this guy was saying. So you did really well with that. Okay, then you've got, I guess we're kind of to the appendix parts. But anyway, one of your parts is the best advice others gave me. Well, you shared a little bit of that already, but is there anything else you wanted to say about
The biggest piece was, you have to advocate for yourself. You have to do that. The other piece I think it was really nice having a team of doctors take care of you, and that's what I had at Regents. Once you were assigned or got an oncologist, you had a whole team taking care of you. And I had, I said, I don't need a social service worker, I don't need a psychologist, but I tell you, my psych guy was excellent. I didn't believe in hypnosis at all. I mean, I was not a believer.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that. But you went ahead and did it.
Yes, he hypnotized me. Just, I think it was helping the stress level. I was working through all of this and very stressed out about keeping my job.
Well, yes.
And I was driving to radiation over my lunch hour because I was worried.
I can't imagine that.
And he was great. And I can't believe how much the hypnosis just helped and calming, and it worked. I'm a believer now.
I'm taking that as a real positive because
yes.
if down the road it should happen and I should need it. I just think your advice here is so good. So that was a really interesting chapter.
Good.
Now there's another chapter here that says things no one ever told me. Is there anything you want to share at that time?
Two things. One, people tell you get tired from radiation. My dad had lung cancer and had radiation, and I knew he was tired. I didn't know it was possible to feel as tired as I felt. Oh. And for months afterwards, I'm sure it was a good year before I felt normal again after radiation treatments, because it just wiped me out. To me, the radiation was almost harder than the chemo there because of that. And then just some things that happen to women when their body goes through shock from surgery or chemo that I didn't know happened. Nobody had told me about, and that kind of surprised me.
That's very unusual.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the norm, but they don't talk. Nobody talks about it.
Nobody talks about it.
And that's what I wanted to be upfront and say, this could happen. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it could happen.
Oh yeah, certainly. Certainly.
Everybody's different.
You tell it like it is. I have to admire you for that. And then, I've done a lot of relays, but I'm usually playing on a keyboard.
Yes.
So I've heard a lot of different speeches and things, and you actually included that in your book.
I wanted to. Mainly, my sister came up for that relay. She and her family came up, and it was just a very special time for me. My first relay, when I found out I had cancer, that was pretty overwhelming.
Yes.
I think a few tears, and I also went to the Susan G. Komen walk that same year, and that was just amazing, very emotional. But when they asked me to be one of the chair people for the relay here, my sister came up, and I wanted to let people know, what a difference she made in my life.
That's a beautiful speech. I really enjoyed reading it. And when they take that survivor's walk, that's when it kind of gets to me.
Yeah.
But it's also a joyful time.
Yes.
And I've known people like you that have done that. And I have to say, the people that run that relay, like Kim and Kelly, aren't they just wonderful?
They are.
And I admire them so much for having that in Hudson and how meaningful it is.
Yes.
It's so important.
It really is.
It's part of life.
Really is. They help a lot of people.
They really do.
They really do.
Now, you've already had your book. You told me it was easy to get your book published. How? I don't understand that.
Well,
most people come here and say, "Oh, I had a terrible time."
Oh. It's published, but it's self-published too. But I did have 3 different companies willing to work with me on it, and so I chose Ex Libris probably because they were the most persistent. They wouldn't let me,
Oh.
which was good. I mean, I think they called me almost every day during the process of getting the book done and writing it. So they've been very helpful. And they
great.
provide the bookmarks and the cards and things like that to
Oh,
get out to
yeah.
people. So they've been very supportive.
And
with
so
it.
you've been to
And
some book signings.
I did. We
I
had
heard
one.
you were in Hudson. I'm
Yes.
so sorry I couldn't make that one.
Yeah. So
So the one right, well, we're quite close to it here. The one on Locust Street. You were there, right?
the
The bookstore.
we were at the Hudson Bagel.
Oh, you were
Actually,
at the Hudson Bagel. I
yes.
didn't know that.
Yeah, we went to Hudson
Oh.
Bagel and had it, and it was great. It was very nice,
nice.
relaxed atmosphere, and he welcomed us back again. So maybe we might have a follow up
Really?
sometime. So, and I'll sure have some down at the relay at Papa's Kids, our team.
Oh, yes,
We'll
yes.
have some
oh,
books
you
for
have, yeah.
sale.
Oh, I forgot about those teams.
Yes, yeah.
They're so special, too.
Yes. Yeah.
So have you been at any other bookstores then?
I actually did a book signing down in my hometown in Knoxville, Iowa, this last weekend.
okay.
So
Very
went down
nice.
there and had a really nice turnout and got to see a lot of old friends and school friends. So.
Now, how can we buy the book?
It's available on Amazon and also Barnes & Noble online
Okay.
and Ex Libris. And this month it starts being available in bookstores, so bookstores that pick it up.
Okay.
And that,
So I'm sure it'll be featured because it's very good.
yeah.
Now, do you have any upcoming book signings?
I don't have any signings other than the relay planned right now, but
Okay.
that doesn't mean there won't
Okay,
be.
I asked the question.
Oh,
so.
yes. Oh, yes.
And then is there a certain website? Or?
There is. You can go to nancyjohnstontoll.com.
Okay, we can put that
which
on the
is-
screen.
Okay.
nancyjohnstontoll.com. Okay.
And that's the website. I also have a Facebook site. And what I've tried to do with my Facebook site, because I got the book done, I thought, oh, I forgot to include this, or oh, I forgot to include. There were things I forgot to mention. I'd think of, and so that's what I've been trying to do on my Facebook site is start adding helpful hints, and
Oh,
so
good
you can
idea.
still go to my Facebook site, which is Nancy Toll. And there's a link to it from the nancyjohnstontoll.com too. And
Very nice.
so I'm hopefully going to keep hints going there. And
Yes. And who knows?
people.
You might get the inspiration to start another book.
Yes, yeah. I think my
nice.
next one's going to be more of a science type thing.
Oh, I can understand that with your background.
Well, I actually started writing a science textbook and for online science textbook.
Oh.
And then I thought, I'd rather do the fun things that parents can do with kids at home, all those fun little activities. So I know
Yes.
there are books out there like that already, but I know a ton of those little fun things you can do that that was my favorite part of teaching is seeing the kids, the awe in their
Oh, yes.
face when something happens.
Well, and you need a legacy for your grandchildren.
Yes.
So wouldn't that
Yeah.
be nice?
Yeah. So,
Well,
yeah.
Nancy, this has been such fun talking to you. I just admire you so much.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming today and sharing this all with us. And I want to thank the audience for watching, and we'll put some links up. And we hope you enjoyed the show. I know I learned so much from it today myself. So we hope you enjoyed it and keep watching the show. Thank you.